It is good to be back. What is up, people? How's everybody doing? Welcome back to Yakin with Yukon. It has been a while. I left you high and dry, but I am back on Tuesday night. We're going to see how this goes. Everybody's probably used to Sunday night. Sunday night is no more. We are on Tuesdays from now on. And it's good to be back. I missed you guys. I missed doing this. You all know this is my favorite part of all of YouTube. So good to see you guys. Hopefully, a few people roll in here. We've got Chris and Maclex. What's up, man? Good to see you, buddy. And we have got Greg from Figure Fever. What's up, man? So, like I said, been a while. It has been nearly 2 months since we've done a Yakin with Yukon, and I missed you guys. So again, I've said this a couple times in a couple of videos. I was on Dre's live this afternoon. Thanks again to Dre for having me on. But I appreciate all the people reaching out, asking how I was doing. It was nothing big. It was just needing a break. Nothing major. No life-changing events or anything like that. Just had to put some things ahead of this, which is basically I had to put everything ahead of this. But I appreciate it all, man. So I appreciate you guys reaching out. We also got Archie Cardazilla is in the house, having left What the Pops Live. Join up with you, man. Yeah, what's up, man? Good to have you here. All right, so to get things going again, we welcome back a very special guest, and he's special because he's blood, because he's my brother. So I mean, you don't get more special than that. So Dan's been on a couple times. We're going to talk about stuff a little bit different this time. We're going to bring Dan into our world. So I hope Dan's ready. I hope he's listening backstage and he's ready to talk about some movies, some toys, and then we'll probably get into his world a little bit more too. So let's get it going. Let me see if I remember how to do this first of all. Okay, there it is. So let's kick up Dan's music and we'll get this show on the road. What's up, Dano?
What's going on, man?
How you doing?
When you were talking, it sounded like you said hacking with Yukon. I didn't know if you were going to take up smoke.
I mean, that may or may not get ratings. I don't know. It could. You never know. Hacking. Is it there? So my next question is,
yeah. Hackers unite, but not like computer hackers, like
we only have people that smoke on this. It's like that episode of Seinfeld when Kramer starts up the smoking thing in his apartment.
Yeah, your face will look like an old catcher's mitt. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, man. Exactly.
Eczema, birth effects, but not this. Yeah.
Right. So, how you doing?
Feeling good, man. Thanks for having me on, and
absolutely.
I appreciate that intro. Claiming I'm special. I mean, like in school when they said special, it wasn't, back in the day. It wasn't exactly a term of endearment, but
I didn't mean that kind of special. I meant special as in, there you go.
Sure, I know what you meant, but my brain reinterprets to something self-deprecating. So
don't be
for other people's humor.
All right, let's get to a couple of comments here. Then I'll start asking you some questions. Today marks 15-year anniversary of Terminator Salvation, my favorite Terminator outside T1 and T1. T2 is not your favorite? Come on, dude. And we got Manclick saying hi to Greg. And Greg, that was funny, man. So there you go.
Well, thanks. I have a good joke every, once a decade-ish. So don't expect anything else for 9 years.
Yeah, it's not going to be a funny show other than that one. So, All right. So like you said, like you probably saw in the intro, I'm going to bring you into our world a little bit as far as like toys and movies we watch and everything like that. Because I don't think we've talked about many things. We'll talk about your prop shop too here in a minute. But we've talked about a lot of religious things, a lot of godly things. Talked about the mask making and stuff. But I kind of want to bring you into our world a little bit and just get your take on what you remember and what like kind of stuck with you. So, what was your favorite cartoon when we were growing up?
Yeah, I hadn't really thought about that. The toys I thought of.
Toys usually coincide with the cartoons, so
they do. That's for sure. There's different eras of it. Like, I was born in '84 to age myself, so it's like in that time it's like Transformers, the cartoon, Ninja Turtles, stuff like that. Um, then the '90s, you're getting into something different. I remember watching Power Rangers a lot. It wasn't a cartoon per se, but I don't know if it was my favorite. Man, I don't really recall. I really don't. I guess Transformers. I think that was just. I mean, I guess that's one I can think of the most. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, and there's home movies of us arguing and fighting over Transformers on Christmas. So
yeah,
that
yeah.
one, that
Oh,
one
and
kind of.
speaking of that, the Ghostbusters cartoon. That
Oh
was
yeah,
a big one. How would I? Wow, I feel bad for forgetting that.
yeah. How dare you?
Uh,
Do you see what's behind me?
yeah. Well. Yeah. Whoops.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I told you this earlier, but your niece and nephew went to see the first four episodes of the Transformers in the movie theater on Sunday, and they haven't shut up about it since. So I was really surprised. So my son, his favorite right now is Starscream, and my daughter, she's kind of going towards like RC, like the girl. She's gonna like the girl, the pink ones and stuff. Um, so out of the Transformers, who do you think was like your top? Who was your favorite?
I mean, I liked Optimus, but I also liked Megatron. Iron Knight was always cool. Soundwave was cool. Um, I liked all the Jets, but Starscream obviously with like his rebellion towards Megatron, like obviously they made him to stand out more. But like as a character, but like as like being cool in like a vehicle or a gun.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm
right.
pretty pro gun, so Megatron transforming into a gun was just and still is awesome like that. You know, but yeah, not a very good distinct answer, but all of those. Like I think Megatron overall, I'd say. Yeah, how do you beat
Yeah.
transforming into a gun? Like,
Well, and I thought it was really stupid when they had him start transforming into a tank.
well, I mean, like I guess they were trying to make it more logical because the alien robot Transformers, was
Yeah,
already a nice dose of reality. So you had to get all of it into reality, right?
right, right, right.
That's like when people say, "Hey, that part in Star Wars wasn't realistic." Really?
Yeah,
Thanks.
yeah.
You know
No, exactly. I mean, what part of this is supposed to be realistic for you? It's the
that
it's the rope
that
giant robot that comes down into this size and to a tape player that's throwing you off instead of the giant talking robot that's trying to take over the galaxy. That
well,
part
right,
didn't throw you off. It was the little tape deck or the
right.
little gun that threw you off. Yeah, yeah.
Well,
It's
right. I mean, and that it just makes I don't know if people like think that much sometimes, but you know, you
yeah.
suspend belief. It's like watching WWE. You suspend belief.
Right, right. So don't take it
Like
too serious. Yeah, yeah. Do you
right.
remember a favorite toy that you had? Was there a toy that so you weren't as into toys as me, but was there a favorite toy that you remember that really meant a lot to you? I know we had a ton of stuff. Um,
Oh, yes.
okay.
Yeah, that's different phases too. So like '80s when I was a little kid, like the Popple. I don't
The
remember if you
popple.
remember
Yeah, I
Popple.
remember the popple. Yeah, 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 the popple. Yeah.
um, I forget what Pound Puppies, Barkerville.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now keep in mind, little kid, like 5, 6, 7 years old, even younger. Well, gosh, my Stay Puft Marshmallow Man when I was a little
Oh
kid.
yeah. 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 We won't tell
Um,
that story.
yeah, I would not give that thing up.
Yeah.
And then when get a little older, well, I guess it kind of was all at the same time for a little while there. But Transformers, obviously, the Ninja Turtles from the cartoon. But even things like Mousetrap, like the games. I mean,
Oh yeah.
that's not quite a toy. Um, but yeah, just stuff like that. Lincoln Logs were always cool. Yeah, I had a lot of different ones, honestly. Yeah. Yeah, I think those would probably be the biggest ones. The Transformers again were kind of the meat and potatoes, and that Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
Well, and then we get into like the '90s with Star Wars. I
Right.
was still a kid in the '90s, but that was because of you. Like, would that started? You probably started getting those in what '96 or '97,
Yeah, I was
whenever it was,
96 when I started going
when
after
the
the fire.
special
That was
editions
actually
came
you
out.
that started that. You actually started that, if you remember. Mom got us a couple, I think it was for Easter or something, and you actually had the collection in your room. Do you remember that?
No, I'll take your word for it. And
So the
so,
way it
in
went,
a weird way, you just gave me credit for this entire channel and
I
brand.
I
That's
just
cool.
did. I gave you
I
credit for
appreciate that.
everything you see. I gave you credit for the whole thing because it technically is true. So the way it went was that Dan actually saw the Star Wars stuff. It was Power of the Force. It was '96, springish. And he's, our mom was asking us, what do you guys want? What do you guys want for Easter? We're like, well, freaking A, we don't know. And then I remember you saw Darth Vader's TIE fighter. You're like, oh, that's cool. We should get that. And then
Yeah.
we found, I think we found Obi-Wan and Vader, and we got those. And then it got to the point where you had this giant desk that mom and dad got you up in your room. It was to do
Oh,
schoolwork
and
on.
on
Yeah,
top,
yeah.
right?
And you put
Okay.
everything up
That's
top, and then
yeah.
it's like it was all in your room. I remember for quite some time where you had it all displayed like we do, like I do. And I think one day you were just like, either I just stole them from you, or I don't know what happened, but it slowly came to me, and then it went in our.
Gotcha.
Then it slowly, remember the old house? It went into my room.
Right. Well, that's not a shock because I'm notorious for having like my mom and dad can attest to this. I know they're watching, but
Okay.
I've wanted to have my foot in every camp, try a bunch of different things, and I sometimes I would stick with things and move on, and maybe that would
That
be
was
one of the things
probably
where it's
it.
like, yeah, it was cool, but
Yeah,
um,
you were
which
probably
is
playing
weird because
guitar or something after that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
well, that was close to the same time probably. And then I remember when episode one came out, I was in the same house. I painted, I think Darth Vader, Obi-Wan from
Yeah,
episode
yeah,
one,
yeah,
Darth Maul, a bunch of stuff all over my walls,
yeah.
which was an area that we forget how lenient mom and dad were at times to
Right,
paint all
right.
these weird things
I
on in my room like
Yeah.
that. So that was
I
cool. Kind
also
of
remember I was working. So during episode two, I had a job that sucked, and I couldn't get off. I couldn't go in late because or I couldn't. Yeah, I couldn't do the midnight thing. So I remember you went to Walmart. And you just like bought everything, and I paid you back. But you,
that.
you said that was like some of the most fun you ever had was doing the Midnight Madness
Oh,
thing at Walmart for that.
yeah, that was that around episode one.
That was episode two.
Or was it two? Oh, it was okay. Because I remember we did a thing for episode one, but
Mhm.
when you couldn't go, yeah, man, those were just that was just like a sound old again, but like a simpler time where Walmart had like the selection,
Yeah.
um, and there was a whole bunch of people there. Everyone was cool from what I remember, and you just everyone was on the same page. Like, oh, we're all just trying to get these toys, like
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. I think that was cool. I remember that.
I think
Yeah,
you went
I
with
remember
me
that being
to
fun.
all of
Like,
them. Yeah. Yeah. I
yeah,
think you went with
and
me to
it's
the
like,
Revenge of the
there's
Sith one too.
quite a
Yeah.
bit of yeah. Oh yeah. Well, we had some money at our disposal, so it's like, oh, that figure, and it's like you're not being picky. You're just grabbing stuff. Like
Right.
that's
Right.
it's like a little mini shopping. spree.
Yeah, it really was. It
So
really was. So yeah, yeah. Yeah. Let me get to a couple more comments here real quick. I gotta say hi to some people here. Figure anxiety. What's up, man? Good to see you. Mr. Boom Boom. I'm not
that's
gonna
a great
ask
name.
why your name is Mr. Boom Boom, but hey, what's up?
No, leave it as a mystery. That's epic. I dig that. I like the creativity.
Kenny, what's up, Kenny? I forgot to say hi to you. It should have been a cannon. So the funny thing about that is, so we're talking about Megatron.
Megatron, yeah.
Megatron's alt mode for the one that mom and dad got me, this one right here. His
The
alt
prize
mode, you can
possession.
transform him, but you can also turn that all the gun parts, the silencer, the stock, all the parts, you can turn it into a cannon for Megatron, which I believe was one of the original concepts for Megatron because they said kind of what you said, Dan. They're like, it's kind of stupid that he's just this giant robot and he turns into this little gun, So I think that
Well,
was
but
one
the
of the
coolness
concepts.
overrode the stupid.
Right, right, right. So, but they decided later on, they're like, well, this is when it's back in the early 80s when nobody was all weird about guns and stuff and they were cool with it. They're like, well, let's just turn them into a gun, just kind of the cool factor. But a cannon was actually something that they had considered. So, yeah, yeah, super cool.
Interesting. Yeah.
So, have you ever thought about and I know you've dabbled in this a little bit because you're into horror and you've had quarter scale Freddy's, you've had quarter scale, you've had some of the NECA Jasons and Freddy Kruegers and Michael Myers and stuff. But has there ever been a time when you've kind of wanted to dabble back into collectibles and toys?
I've had thoughts like literally like in the last 6 months of it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like, yeah, I haven't done anything, but like I don't. Gosh, I'm on a toy channel. I might butcher this. I don't know if it's NECA, but those Ninja Turtles, those 7-inch ones from
Yeah, it's NECA.
the
Yeah.
movie,
Yeah.
and that shredder are just so freaking painfully awesome. Like those alone make me want to get some stuff. And like I do have a few of your Transformers that you had given me too, not too long ago. Um,
I gave you
but
Transformers.
things like that, like having just a handful. What's that?
I gave you Transformers.
Yeah, you did actually,
I remember
and I
that.
think I gave one or two to Zeke, so he has a
Oh,
couple.
okay. All right. Well, cool. Then
um,
he's got them.
but
Cool.
he
Cool.
puts them to good use. But just those handful of figures I just thought of right off the top of my head makes me want to get like. I'm not like a person that collects stuff anymore, but having a handful of these few things around, I think would be like awesome. Just because, like we've talked about this, and I'm sure a lot of people that watch you and have their own channels or collect toys and stuff. A lot of it is just there's little bits of your childhood and a lot of good and fun memories with
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
siblings or family, your parents, whatever it may be. So it's just good little fun reminders to have. It kind of works as a timeline in a way.
Yeah.
Um, but just those few, like those Ninja Turtles and like that Shredder is just so. I always just thought in that movie they just did him absolutely perfect. Anything after was just garbage. Like, but that's what happens when you make it perfect. Like you have no place to go but down.
Right.
Then you
Right.
have
Exactly.
Super Shredder, and that was cool. But whatever. But aside from that, like I still would like to have like a Part 7 Jason from uh the New Blood from Friday the 13th Part 7. He just because I'm obviously, as you can see behind me, I'm a huge like special effects dork, like making prosthetics and makeup and making these characters and creatures and monsters. So like the different variations of Jason. I don't like the Friday the 13th movies. I think they're just garbage, but Jason is cool in all of them, the way they made the character. So those figures would be cool to have. So it's like the same kind of idea with like Michael Myers and stuff. But one of the big ones would be I did a sorry, I'm backwards here. Pumpkinhead,
Oh, yeah.
which I sculpted here. But the movie Pumpkinhead, like there's a statue. It's a Pumpkinhead statue. I think it's like thousands of dollars, but that thing's phenomenal. Like if I was rich, I would buy that. Right? It's just
Absolutely.
so stuff like that, like stuff that I just think looks cool or it reminds me of childhood or a combination even. So
Yeah.
long-winded answer.
Are there so like with that? Is there any that like hold any nostalgic value? Because you know me, I've said it so many times. A lot of my
Yeah.
Ghostbusters had when I was a kid. A lot of
Yeah.
nostalgic value. A lot of the I've got the original Optimus Prime. A lot of nostalgic value. The Megatron. Do you remember any from when we were kids that you think about it and it just kind of takes you back to when we were kids playing with it and smashing. We were very nice to our
Oh.
toys.
No. Yes. No. That's a really good question because I had thought of that yesterday and today when I was kind of prepping a little bit because you had told me you're going to ask me about this kind of stuff. Was like the Ecto one and the small toys. Yes, the Ghostbusters, but the ones that we had like the Proton Pack that we could
Oh,
wear
yeah.
as kids, and then like the goggles and the PKE meter and the trap and man, like I remember like being on the deck at our house on 122nd in Thornton, Colorado. Like we're like wearing all the gear, and like oh roll out the trap and you'd push the foot thing and it was like air
Pop
and it
right
would
open.
open it. And,
Yep.
yeah, like stuff like that is like I don't want to sound like wimpy or anything, but like that almost like gets me worked up a little bit, like
Oh, totally.
emotionally, like
Totally.
in a good way, because it kind of chokes you up, just like that. It's just that innocent like childhood stuff, and when you're an adult, it's much harder to enjoy anything. That's just true, at least in my experiences, because we're not ignorant. When you're a kid, you're ignorant to the world around you, which makes it easier to enjoy those kind of things.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
trying to retreat to that a little bit in a way, even just by having like a collection like you do, I think is beneficial. It takes you out of everything now and the craziness that we live in, and just enjoying that like you did when you were a kid. It's like the idea of being a kid on Christmas Eve, if you will.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
those toys that we could actually wear and play with, um, those are ones I haven't ever forgot. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Same here. I mean, I remember getting those. I remember. It's a funny story. I'll just tell it real quick. I don't even know if mom and dad know this, but I never told them. So when we were little, they had hid them, I think, in the car. And I remember I had taken a nap, and we were going to the mall or something, and dad had the trunk open, and I just caught a tiny glimpse of it, and I was like, oh. Christmas.
I think I remember
that. I don't know if I ever told him that or if I ever told you that, but it was like, and then it's like that's like burned in my memory. It's burned in my memory that mom put on the Ghostbuster record and we shot ghosts to the music that morning on
Oh,
Christmas morning to him. It's that stuff that you see something and it just burns in your memory, and you can kind of, for me, if I look at a toy, it can take me right back to when I got it or
right,
to when
right.
I lost it or whatever it would be.
Well, that's very true. Like, yeah, an example of that I'd have is like my friend Jeff. I mean, Jeff. I've known him since fourth grade. I've known him 32 or 33 years now, right? And he'll talk about someone, and because we went to school, graduated the same year, we're the same age, we're 2 months apart. He can talk about people at school or this or that even now. This amazing memory, and I'll be like, I just don't remember. He'll go get his yearbook, he'll open it up. Oh, instant flood of
Right.
like, you remember it all. So yeah, I mean, not that I want to remember that stuff compared to like toys.
Yeah, right.
That's obviously the toys were better. But yeah, no, it's very true how that happens. And it's funny, like you say, like mom putting on the music. It's like that's what you call like all-in parenting, where your parents
Totally.
are just gonna like give you that full like
Totally.
experience and give you the whole thing like that, and just getting
Well,
their joy off of your joy as a kid. Like,
and
that's
you see
awesome.
how long it lasts. That's 35 years that's stuck with,
Well, it'll
us.
always be there.
Yeah.
It'll probably be there with you until we punch our ticket.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
So that's the stuff. It's funny because people talk about like little things, or those are the little things. It's like those really are not the little things. Those are actually, what's the word? Like they're infinite. They're priceless things. They're
Yeah.
not little.
The memories that you have are just irreplaceable, and a lot of things
Right.
out there will trigger those smells. There's certain smells. I smell
Yep.
Big League Chew. I'm right back at Northern Lights playing outfield with a bunch of stickers in my hand from throwing the ball.
Those
It's
fields
those
were
things.
something.
They were terrible. But it's those kind of things that just trigger the memory. It's amazing how the
Yep.
memory works, where you can look at something or smell something or touch something or see something you haven't seen in a long time, and boy, it's like a
Well,
transport. It takes you right back where you were the first time you had it.
well, and that's what it is. But what that is that's a design. That's how God made us. Where
Right.
one of the fruits of the spirit is joy, and we remember things on purpose. It's, yes, for its experience, to learn, to maybe not do certain things, whatever. But it's also like the reminders of joy from the past, not living in the past, but reminding you of the past and those good things, how God's always been there and bless you through your whole life with all these cool things. And maybe you don't appreciate it as a kid, but boy, now at the age of 43 and 40, we're sitting here talking about our enjoyment of these things. It's
Right.
like,
Right.
that's a really big deal. So
Oh, it is. It is a big deal, and it's like, and then when you can share it with others, everybody watching, kids,
mhm.
family members, all that. It's just it's great.
Well,
It's great to see that kind
totally,
of stuff.
especially if you have kids, man.
Yeah, I'm raising them right.
Yes, you are.
We ain't watching none of that other crap. You go watch 1984 Transformers. We'll be good.
Yep.
That in go watch Pure Flix and learn about God. There you go. All
Yep.
right. So Figure Anxiety wants to know who your favorite horror character is.
Oh gosh. I
That's a
mean,
tough one. That's a tough one.
well, okay. I'll try to not be long-winded, but I base that off of what the stipulation is. So what I mean by that is like Michael Myers was always my favorite just because of the character, like how he, like the way, at least in the very first Halloween. Oh, hold on, let me get more detailed. The original 1978 Halloween, there's 3 Halloween movies named Halloween, just Halloween, then their sequels. But the original 1978 John Carpenter Halloween, Michael Myers in that was always my favorite because a lot of just the design of him, the simplicity and the way Carpenter wrote and directed him to move, and his look, and just the idea of like he's just blank, right? He's just empty. He's void of any emotion, and it just built on that suspense and that developing of a character by giving you so little. It's really weird. So he was always my favorite. But then, like, if you get into, like I said earlier, where you take that stuff out and you're like looking like from just like a visual standpoint, because I love like the makeup effects and the designs of the characters, like Jason Voorhees from Friday the 13th and Pumpkinhead. Those are up there, like, because it's like, I know we're all nerds to an extent. Everyone's a nerd of something, as I always say, but like in all the different Friday the 13th movies, you could line up Jason in all his movies. I could tell you what movie he's from just looking at him one glance. The different chunks of the hockey mask missing, the different paint schemes of the hockey mask, or his spine is showing in part 7 but not part 6. Nerdy garbage like that.
Hey man, we all can do
it. Yeah. So other than those guys, I'm not a huge fan of Freddy. It's hard to be a fan of. I know it's a movie, but the backstory, it's a little too much. But the way Wes Craven executed all that for the original 1984, I thought was really done excellent.
Definitely.
As far as the character, and he didn't give you sympathy for Freddy Krueger, I don't really think, which was good. So I look at it on a lot of levels, but just from those standpoints, like Michael Myers and Jason, and just but then there's old school so like if you go to like classics, the original Wolfman, Boris Karloff's Frankenstein's monster, like you're not beating that. You're talking, the early 1900s when they're doing these makeup effects that look better than now, that look better than any of the CGI garbage now. You're like, well, yeah, that still holds. It doesn't only hold the test of time, but it's actually better than now. So it's like, but the Wolfman, and then like werewolves, just all those kinds of all of that. They're cool characters and creatures and monsters. So.
And I know you've done your own take on some stuff, which is a good segue for you to show your Pumpkinhead a little more. What was it that drew you into kind of putting and you did it with Jason too. You sold your Jason, so you can't sell that. You can't show us that. But
right.
What is it that kind of got you interested in kind of putting your spin on those classic monsters?
It try to give short answers. So it goes hand in hand.
You can be long-winded, then I don't have to ask more questions.
Well, I'm what they call a classic overthinker, but overthinker on steroids. So what I do when I sculpt, so I have a sculpt right here. This is in clay. I'm still in process. It's got a bag over it, but this is just clay. So when I'm coming up with like a character, because people always ask me, how do you come up with a character? Like, how do you design it? How do you sculpt it out? I wish I had a cool answer. Like, there's some people that they get colored pencils, they draw it in their notebook. You could sell the drawing for $500 on its own, but then they're like, oh, I'm going to sculpt that, and it's just to the T. Like, They sculpt exactly what they drew. It's perfect, every detail. I don't operate that way. I have what I call a foundational idea. So it's like, oh, what's my foundational idea? Oh, a Wolfman. Okay, that's all I know going in. I grab my clay, I start going. So I create a backstory for it. Oh, well, maybe the Wolfman has a scar right here. Well, how do you get that scar? Blah, blah, blah. So I give him a backstory, and that's how I'm able to come up with how he looks. So with these ones that I kind of redid, I came up with my own backstory for them. I eliminated what the movie said, for the most part. Like when I don't have one, but I resculpted Ghostface from Scream, which whatever on those movies. Yep. But I was like, I took the term literal. Like, so a ghost face, like that reminded me like sheet ghost, right? So like when you see a kid at Halloween time, he's trick-or-treating, he has the eyes cut out and he has a sheet over him and he's the little ghost, right? Yep. So I took that concept in mind. So when I sculpted the mouth is way longer, and then it's got like these cuts in there. And it looks like a cut out mouth like you would do in a sheet to make a sheet ghost. Yep. So that's how I did that one, with a couple other ideas. But then like with Jason, I don't have it. I did sell it, unfortunately. But I took it literal, like, okay, this dude's been living in the woods for like years, right? So his mask, and he's hot, and the hockey mask was in the water. It was waterlogged. It's all beat up. And then when I painted him, I made the back of his head sunburned because it's like, and then when I painted his
Yeah,
face, it was gray because no
yeah,
sunlight was hitting it.
right.
So stuff like that. That was like how I came up with like the newer ideas for them, because it's like, well, what's my own backstory for an existing character, which is really odd, maybe. I don't
I
know,
don't
but
think it's
that's
odd. I think it's very smart because it's not that there's really any good reasoning for the way they do the characters in horror movies. They just try to make them as scary as possible. But what you're doing is you're actually throwing some more reality into it. Like if somebody,
yeah,
as for
yeah.
instance, Jason is out in the woods, he's gonna be a little sunburned. His if
Well, and
he's
he's thin,
underwater, right.
right?
Yeah, he's not
Right,
eating. You know what I mean? And it's like
right,
if he's
right.
underwater, his mask is going to be waterlogged. So that's one thing I love about your stuff is that not only are you a great sculptor and great at doing this, but you think it out in the manner to where it's like, holy crap, this could almost kind of happen. It's that well thought
Yeah,
out to where it's like, damn, Dan thought through this so much, like it's almost plausible. Sure,
it's
the undead
exhausting.
Jason Voorhees, I bet it is.
Well,
Sure, the
it's
undead Jason
because
Voorhees is not plausible, but the way that you're interpreting
right.
them and the way you're bringing them to the audience, very plausible.
Yeah, I mean, because it's like in my mind, the scariest thing is reality, right?
Right, right.
I mean, I don't like his movies, his music's whatever, but I do like to an extent the way Rob Zombie approaches it. People say, well, all his movies are the same, and I've seen only a few of them, but it's like, well, I don't think he's a one trick pony. I think that's just all he knows. Like he's rooting that, if it's a scary movie, the idea is to give people suspense and scare them. So he's rooting it in probably what the scariest thing is, which is reality.
Reality.
You know,
Exactly.
I'm not exactly afraid of aliens because I don't think aliens exist. So I'm not afraid of getting abducted by an alien.
Right.
Uh, I'm not afraid of like the blob, right? I don't think a giant blob
Right.
monster is going to come and inhale me and swallow me whole anytime soon. But a crazed killer on the loose from a jail, he broke out or something, that is possible. I mean,
Yes.
likely, probably
Yes.
not, but like just stuff like that where it's, and I also, the main problem I have with horror is I won't rant, the absolute and sheer laziness of the character development as a general. Every
Right.
character is unlikable. They're all drunk, getting high, and just terrible people, and it's lazy. And then the villain is just big hulking. He does four things like nowadays, and it's, oh, let's get inventive with like the gore and like all this. I hate that so much that I even incorporate backstories into my props
Well,
because I want
yeah.
to have some depth to it. I'm not a I don't consider myself a surface level person. I like to have depth in all things. Like I like to have like, you know, more detail
Well,
oriented.
and I think that helps. I think that helps as a sculptor and as a creator of really anything. You don't want
Yeah.
to be just on the surface because if you're just on the surface, I mean, it's going to show in the work. With your work, you can tell that it's like I said, it's very well thought out. It's very well executed, and there's just the backstory really does it. And it's just tough nowadays. It's like I was talking to my wife about this. I can't remember the last funny movie I saw. I think it was like Dinner for Schmucks, which is like 14 years old. It's so hard.
I gave
Like
up on them.
the thing is, man, your palette that you have to work off of is the same as ours. We're all milking the 80s and we're milking the 20s, like
Well,
the Lon Chaney's and all this. And it's like I don't think there's anything newer coming out where you can like take it and put your spin on it.
no, no, it's just the same. It's just it's a hamster on a wheel. Um, it's it's the same thing, old thing. Like the writing, the extra garbage that has to be in movies, like whether it's politics or whatever, or the same type of characters, or the same story, or that their lack of, or it's a superhero movie, which that's fine if you like superhero movies. But it's all surface level stuff is what I'd call it. It's just autopilot, right? Like it's just it's just what will make money with the mainstream in some bubble living Hollywood exec's mind. like the
Yeah,
furthest
exactly.
person from reality. Like
Yeah,
it's why, people do intentionally, like what you just said, they do intentionally live in the past a little bit, for at least from a creative standpoint or from an entertainment standpoint, a toy standpoint, a movie standpoint, whatever it is, because things, were better back then. That's a fact. That's a fact. Star Wars toys back then are probably a lot better than they are made now. I've heard some of your rants. like,
I don't
but
rant.
no, never. But like 80s, 70s, and 80s, like horror movies, like a lot of them follow the formulas I'm talking about, but there was still at least some creative aspect going on.
Yeah.
It's just nowadays, like music, movies, I don't bother.
It's tough. Yeah, absolutely. Nerd affiliated, what's up, Steve? Good to have you here, man. Thanks for checking in with us. We got Dre. What's up, Dre? Good to have you here, buddy. And then Jedi Niner, good to have you here. Listening while driving. That's dedication right
That's
there.
I was literally just going to say it's dedication.
Yeah, all right. So, there was another question here, and this is going to be tough for you. Favorite superhero?
Oh, for me,
yeah, for you.
I'm gonna cheat. Ashley Williams.
What?
You know who Ashley Williams is?
No.
Ash.
Evil Ash. Ash.
He's a total superhero.
Is he really a superhero?
He goes back in time and defeats the army of darkness. He kills a pit witch. He sweeps the woman off her feet and then he just goes back to his home time anyway. He's like too good for her.
That really is cheating. That's cheating.
But is he not a superhero? All right, no. Okay, so
I mean, not really, but okay.
he stopped the Deadites, man, all on his own.
He did. He
went back to work at his store.
Shop smart. Shop S smart. There you go. See, even Dre said it. Even Dre said it.
I knew I had to figure some of your audience would love that.
Oh, yeah.
I had to figure that. But if we're talking like superheroes, Batman, like I don't necessarily agree with like no killing policy, right? Like if it's like kill or be killed, But aside from that, like I think, and I can tell you why, it's because he doesn't have the superpowers. Like he has money, but obviously the billionaire lifestyle isn't all cracked up to be if he's like, man, yeah, I'm rich, but I'm going to go fight crime and put my blood on the line.
That's a lot of billionaires with that problem. Yeah, it's like when you're a billionaire, I got to go. Tony Stark, I got to go fight crime. It's like.
Yeah. I guess you just get bored of it. But Bill Gates will never do that. Too cowardly.
He's too trying to kill the planet.
Yeah. But like Batman's cool because like, no superpowers, but like I don't know who my favorite Batman is. I loved Christian Bale doing it. I haven't seen Affleck. I've heard good things. I haven't seen Pattinson, but Michael Keaton in the first one, Tim Burton's Batman, was so just like when he's fighting the Joker with like their bare hands and he's bleeding. I mean, just like really like rugged and like that was cool. I mean, that's why Dad loved it in '89. Yeah. Like he did, like everyone did. Yeah. Like Batman, it's weird because he's like a superhero, but he's a billionaire, but yet he's like really relatable. Like he's just sick of crap, and he's taking it upon himself
to do something about it. Yep.
Yeah. So definitely Batman. I haven't seen the other variations. I think Val Kilmer's actually underrated. We won't get into Clooney. When he apologized for what he did in the role, that tells a tale. But I think Val Kilmer's a little underrated. So, but overall, Keaton was the best.
So we'll start up a real controversy here, and then we'll get to Dre's question.
Oh, I love that. Yay, controversy.
Right. So this is always a big one. Nicholson or Ledger?
Oh, whoa. So here's my opinion. The only comparison is that they're both the Joker. After that, it ends because the Nicholson one more is considered like the gangster,
right?
Batman, right? Especially with the time period. They're very different. I think you're comparing apples to oranges because Nicholson's just flat out insane, right? But Ledger, he wasn't insane. Like when he tells Dent, "Do I look like a guy with the plan?" And your joke, Chris, or excuse me, Yukon, damn it, Yukon.
Okay.
Your joke was like, "Yeah, you do look like a guy with the plan," and he was the guy with the plan.
He was the guy with the plan.
And he was just thriving off of the chaos and anarchy. He just enjoyed it. He didn't care about money. When he burns that pile of money, I literally think that is one of the best pieces of cinema like ever made. Like
Yeah.
the way Christopher Nolan thought that out, and I guess I relate to that in a lot of ways because he obviously thought about that. It's like,
Yeah.
this dude cares so little, like he can't be bought. Like I think Batman says that in the movie, but in Dark Knight. But if I had to choose at gunpoint, nothing to take away from one or the other, but Ledger's all day long, because I think what made it more is like, okay, Jack Nicholson, you expect him to do a great job.
Absolutely.
You expect, like in The Shining, he is just phenomenal. Everything he's ever done. But when I first, I think you too, when I first heard like they cast Heath Ledger, I was like, oh, are you
I mean,
kidding?
the dude from
The guy
Brokeback
from
Mountain. Are you
freaking
kidding me?
Brokeback Mountain? No, come on. How's he
No,
gonna? No, that's
it's not gonna work. Yeah.
then we saw some of the clips and we're like, oh, there's some
Unbelievable.
meat on the bone. Then we saw it and it's like, that dude made me eat more crow than I've ever eaten in my life.
Totally. Totally.
It's a shame he passed, but the phenomenal acting and the brilliance of the performance, like, that's the other thing about movies that I don't like nowadays. You don't hear about these acting parts. You don't hear
No.
about this phenomenal acting where
No, because there is none.
there's some celebrities, they don't want to be celebrities, but they want to be actors. And so Heath Ledger, I think, was one of those guys, probably from what I know. He just wanted to give all he could to his acting performances. And that's so respectable. And I guess if he had to, I don't think that was his last role, unfortunately. I think he had filmed something else. But say that was his last role, he
Well,
probably should have just retired after that. And then like one more bit about that is when the semi gets wrecked and he gets out of the car and he's just shooting it. Cars
whatever.
coming by.
Whatever. Yeah.
Can't be bought, no regard for his own life or any. It's like
Right.
that performance is just, yeah. Anyway,
Well, he's just so
Nerding it up.
calculated too. It's like everything is part of the plan. He has a plan, and whatever he adapts to the plan and adapts to whatever's going on so well.
Yep,
It's amazing.
totally.
And I'm with you. When I heard Heath Ledger, I'm like, dude, you got to be kidding me. And then I saw it, and I was like,
Oh,
holy crap! How?
I mean, that's what Hollywood, I think, was the original intent for, was like to give these epic acting performances, tell a story, get you invested in characters, not hate the characters unless there was there's a plot point that requires it.
Yeah.
But man, I got goosebumps thinking about his performance. Like, it's just,
Yeah. And I think what you said is perfect. You can't, the comparison, I think what a lot of people do in comparing them, and I was trying to set you up there, but you beat me to the punch. So good job. But you can't really compare them because they are two completely different styles of Joker. And I think the world would be a worse place if you missed out on one or the other. I think
they're different.
it's good.
Yeah.
Well, Nicholson's insane. And they
And
picked
he's
the most
hilarious.
hilarious. Yeah.
And he's hysterical in that. But like when she throws in the museum, she throws the water on his face and he goes, boo.
Yeah. And he's talking to the dead corpse that he just fried. Your pals, they're not bad people.
Well, Tony.
Well, Tony.
And then he's like listening to me. He's like, grease them now? Like,
okay.
I mean,
it's just
that is so deranged
brilliant.
Nicholson.
Yeah.
Like that. I mean, I'm sorry that he doesn't act anymore. Like, you don't have to like these people in real life, but it's like you take that away, you look at their acting performances, and you're just like, I don't care if you're creative or not, an actor or not, whatever. If you know anything about acting or not, you can appreciate that stuff.
Oh, totally.
It's just unreal. Like,
I think that's the downfall of like people now. They in people now's defense, they don't have a lot to clean to with the stuff that's going on. Everything. You look at Star Wars. Star Wars is kind of a shit show right now. You look at a lot of things. Everything is a sequel. There is no originality. Me and Archer talked about this a ways back.
Cha-ching, money.
And it's not all people's fault that there's no talent. It's the studio's fault because they don't want to take a loss, even though they don't want to take a loss and stuff. It's a lot easier to sit there and say, hey, Avengers 47, yeah, that made money back in 20 odd 12. Let's go ahead and do that instead of something new and original that could be good in its place. Nobody wants to
Right.
take that chance anymore. And it's like, that's where everything was in the 80s. Everything. I mean, if you watch some of the 80s movies now with the weird off the wall stuff, I mean, mongoloids and all this weird crap, but it was
Creative.
original. It was so
Yep.
well done to where it's like, oh my
Like,
gosh, they actually took a chance on this.
well, think of something like, I mean, Ninja Turtles had its time before the 1990 movie, but okay, you have 4 giant turtles running around, a dude wearing all these blades, you have Casey Jones in a hockey mask running around, and a giant rat, and a news reporter. If that's all you knew about Ninja Turtles, you'd be like, that's absurd and ridiculous, and who would watch that? But that movie specifically, that could have been like in line for awards because the writers, the directors, the producers, the actors, the stuntmen, the lighting guy, everybody from A to Z took
Absolutely.
it seriously, and they knew what they had after. They had a vision, and they didn't say, "Oh, it's for kids." They said, "We're going to make the movie that we know will work, and whoever likes it, whoever hates it, hates it." They didn't worry about that, and furthermore, the intent of their heart was in the right place in making a good movie with a story, with characters, with great special effects, with good acting. I mean, Shredder, like I said, just come on. And then the little bits of humor with Casey Jones, who, damn, that performance is underrated in my opinion. Like,
Absolutely.
you're claustrophobic. He's in his truck, and like,
right.
and then like the golf club to Master Tetsu.
Yeah. I mean, it's good stuff.
And then he like, and then he kisses like it's like a 3-wood or whatever. But yeah, just the difference between that and now, and there's a few things, but the biggest one is, what are the priorities of the studios and the filmmakers? Most of them nowadays are money, number one, push BS agendas or politics that no one cares about, number two. That's what their focal point is. And so what gets lost in the mix then? The story, the cinematography, the direction, the writing, the dialogue, the acting, the special effects, which practical effects are dying off. You have crummy CG. So all the actual movie making takes the back seat.
Yeah, it's
So
everything else before it. Yeah, no,
everything
totally
else
agree.
is before it.
Everything else
That's
before it. Yep.
and Star Wars, but that's only getting worse.
Yeah, I mean, people ask me if I watch stuff. I'm like, I watch wrestling and baseball, and that's it. And I watch the old Office. I watch something that this generation would say is offensive. I watch the old Office episodes. I watch Seinfeld. That because, man, I'll tell you what, I can't find nothing else to watch that's gonna fit me. And I know you're the same way. It's like, I'll watch WWE all day. I'll watch baseball all day. Yeah. I'll watch The Office, and I'll watch Seinfeld.
Well,
and it's sad that is the way it is now.
No, it is. It is because you mentioned Seinfeld. If you talk to Jerry Seinfeld in his interviews, his only intent with anything like his stand-up, whether people like him or not, or anything he does, but specifically his stand-up and the show Seinfeld, was it has to be funny. That was the only idea. Like, there was nothing. It didn't take a stance on anything. No social justice things, no political things, not even religious things. Honestly, it would make fun of everything, but then it would make fun of itself. It was just about being funny.
Right.
That's it.
Well, and there's some people now that are all upset about it, and they say it's anti-Semitic. Do you guys realize that Jerry Seinfeld
is Jewish, and so is Larry David.
And they actually did put that stuff in there on purpose because they thought it was funny.
They make fun of themselves. That's the key to comedy. Is what kind of an arrogance or narcissistic attitude does it take to say it's okay to make fun of everything else but not me?
Right.
You're putting yourself in an untouchable territory, but you're putting everyone else in that other territory where, oh yeah, they're all expendable, but don't you dare come after me.
And that's why a lot
Well,
of people think comedy's dead because comedy is about making fun of people. Let's be
everyone should
honest.
be made fun of. Everyone
I
has
mean,
something to laugh at.
right.
We all,
That's
like, God gave us a sense of humor.
yeah. We should use it.
Hello.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to get to Dre's question earlier because I think this is a good question. So, if you had enough money to fund any project you dream of, what would it be and why?
So I saw the question pop up minutes ago, and I've been salivating ever since. That is an easy answer, actually. If I had enough money, I would get with a couple of people that I know very well. One of them being our friend Ellery Smith, and possibly yourself, Phil. Maybe Mr. Raymond Broles. Maybe some other people. But I would buy everyone out of their job and say, you don't need to work anymore. You're working for me now. I'll pay you $1 million a year, whatever. Say I'm rich, right? like Dre said, enough money. So,
Right, right, right.
and we would go full bore on sitting down and writing a really reality slash faith slash horror based film. I have numerous ideas, but I would make a very serious film that starts extraordinarily dark but gets lighter, and by the time, and by this I mean like not like the look necessarily, but like in tone, that would start out dark and end up getting to as light as it can be by the end of the film. So basically, a movie that, again, the scariest thing can be reality. So a movie kind of rooted in like the idea of like temptation of sin, and being stuck in that, or stuck in like the ideas of like the enemy chirping in your ear, in whatever idea that may be, and then the idea of like bringing redemption slowly over the whole film to where people find salvation in Christ, and redemption, but there is a horror element at the meat of it too, in the idea of not doing, like Apostle Paul says, I know what I want to do, but I don't do it. Meaning, when we're tempted, we're doing bad things that we don't want to do, and sometimes we think we can't control it, et cetera, et cetera. So something like that. I've thought about this, as you can tell, but
Yeah, I was
it
gonna
would
say,
be
yeah.
really cool because like a lot of wooded areas and like makeup effects for like the enemy, and just a lot of cool stuff. But yeah, to show like a different faith-based movie that isn't painfully hokey and cheesy and actually realistic. So
Right. Yeah. I think that's where they stumble is they can be hokey. They can be
what doesn't
very,
relate? I mean,
you can't
well,
relate. Exactly.
people
Exactly.
go through extraordinarily severe suffering and pain in their lives, all of us, and um, there's a lot of stuff that people don't talk about in their life. Most people have something they keep quiet, or they're embarrassed, or they think no one will relate, or they think they'll get judged, whatever. But you kind of want to get that at the forefront and be like, well, what does that look like?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Nice one.
yeah, I've
Nice.
thought about that.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's a great idea. I love it, man. I love it.
So
I think that's great.
probably never happened, but you never know.
Hey, you never know. At least you got the idea. If it does happen, you never know, right?
Yes, it's on
Wait, you're
file.
not excited for the Acolyte? I mean, no, I'm not, because I won't watch that. No, no, I'm not. Uh, Great line. I'll never call until game again. Nice, Casey Jones. Nice, nice, nice,
Oh
nice.
gosh, brilliant line.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'll never go get.
Nice. Different times. Yeah, it's different times, but I mean, we are all living in the past, in one way or another, whether it be through, movies, whether it be through toys, whether it be through whatever it is. We are living in the past because, I don't know if you see this, Dan, but on Instagram, there's a lot of those reels. They'll do the way things were back like in the 90s or the 80s, and they'll show
I
the old Taco Bell, they'll show
yeah
the old McDonald's, they'll
yeah I
show,
follow some on
man,
Facebook.
yeah, it's
It's a
heartbreaking.
love hate thing.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking.
Well, it is. I mean, like I'll be honest. I just the other day watched a YouTube video. It was clips of old Westminster Mall.
Yeah, yeah,
Westminster, Colorado. Years ago, there was for anyone that doesn't know, there was a mall over there off of, well, I won't even say the streets. That's irrelevant to a lot of people. But in Westminster, Colorado, like our parents took us there all the time, and
yeah.
it got leveled, and now there's like apartments, and it's just like
Apartments.
that's great for those people that live there. But Yeah, it's just they're demolishing at least a
taking down everything just for apartments.
yeah. It's
For
just
yeah, yeah, it's crazy.
well, I mean that's what they've done that in like a good chunk of the city of Arvada. They've knocked down all. I mean, you know this. They in Arvada, Colorado, where I grew up as a later teen and stuff. They've changed a bunch of that, and the really bad part is it's all for the worst. I mean,
Yeah,
drastically for the worst.
yeah.
So
Well, it's like, we have a hard time taking the kids to do stuff. It's like, when there's you got to be careful with everything now. You can't just go and do something. And then the cost of
right,
things. The cost of things, it's absolutely ridiculous. We went to the movies, the four of us, and it wound up, and we wanted it to be a special thing. So you get the kids the popcorn and the icy, and it's like $80 later. Okay. You
right,
know, come on,
right.
the
Western
only
Somalia used to be free.
right, right, yeah, exactly. The only thing
Oh,
is, at
you
least
want
I
something
knew it was
from?
going to
You
be
want to go
good.
to? Right. Yeah.
So I mean, Trey says he loves the idea for your movie. He wants you to make it happen so that him and Dave can review it. I agree with that, man. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
I mentioned this.
Let me. I have something to say to that. So people talk about, oh, it's all been done, especially like in movies and like especially the horror genre. It's like, no, it hasn't. You just have to get people that think outside the box a little bit. I'm not saying I do, but I do. Just how my mind works. But no, I would love to see the reactions for what I would want to do with that because very, very different. So
Yeah, well, and if you approach it in a different manner, it's gonna be way different. If
well,
you
again,
approach
it's
it with a
what's
little more sense of reality, it's gonna be way
well, yeah,
different.
that and also what's the focus of it?
Well, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah,
It can't be all nice and cupcake and lighthearted. It's got to be reality. You
gotta
know.
be reality.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's the thing. And it is, well, Andre's right. It really hasn't been done, like you said, in the proper way. The idea is Jason to yours, but it's original. Yep. Totally agree. Totally agree. So all right. So what are you working on now? What are you what's your main thing? You showed us a little bit of that sculpt that you're doing, but you've kind of tried to make a little bit of a transition with what you're making, right? You've kind of gotten into
Yeah,
one thing and gotten out of another thing, right?
yeah, like years ago. This is it, and this is actually a prime example of what I'm talking about. And I'll show a short story. It's really ironic, but it's hilarious. So, like when I used to do my other special effects shop with my friend Ray Brules, we were called Kruger Creations. We did that 2012 through about 2019-ish, 2020. But we made masks and stuff that was really like I mentioned them earlier, like really Rob Zombie style, like raw, gritty, bloody, gory, really just offensive stuff. Um, and we kind of unveiled that in like 2013 at this trade show called Transworld. It's a haunted house and Halloween trade show. And we did have some people push back on us, like saying, oh, well, those aren't going to sell. Like, so the masks were face masks, meaning it's just for your face. There's no back of the head. And they were made of silicone, which silicone was reasonably new product to use instead of latex at the time. We had people kind of push back at the show and stuff saying, oh, well, there's no market for that, blah, blah, blah. And Ray and I kept doing it, kept getting a little better. Well, life changes and stuff, and we closed the shop. But now you got the trans, or guess what's out there
Probably all that
from the
stuff.
big guys?
Yeah.
All of them are doing silicone face masks. So to our point earlier, how you look back and say, well, geez, that was cool. And now there's like this, and everyone thought it was, they could say this or say that about it. Maybe they thought it was cool, maybe they didn't. Well, now it's like, oh, presented as this new thing. And everyone thinks it's wonderful when it's in actuality, it's just not new. So, if, for example, if someone watched those garbage Michael Bay Transformers movies, oh, that's new. No, that's just an abomination of the real Transformers, which was cool back then.
Right. Right. Right.
That's my Michael Bay dig. But so now, I don't know. So now my new shop, Henry Monster Designs, well, newer, I guess 2021 is when I started it. But I'm more in like the classic 80s and before, like practical effects style, with even like a whimsical touch, I would say. Weird to say, but I don't do anything violent. I do nothing like demonic. I don't even do things with horns. I don't even paint things red because I don't want people saying, is that a demon? No, it's not a demon. But I'm very cautious of what I do, but I don't think anything gory or bloody. But so I did show it earlier, but right now I'm working on this sculpture. So this is a material called wed clay. It's actually the Walt Disney clay, wed-based clay, or wed clay, water-based clay. And these are actually ping pong balls for the eyes, but I'm still sculpting them. But so this is going to be a waterlogged or shipwrecked pirate ghost kind of character.
Nice.
So if anyone's ever seen, darn notifications, if anyone's ever seen again, I have to be specific, the 1981, I think it's 1981 movie from John Carpenter called The Fog. It's a movie about, I think these people take this treasure and there's like this ghost pirate ship and like these ghosts of the dead pirates come and get the gold back and attack people or whatever. And they come out of the fog. So it's kind of loosely based off of that. So yeah, to answer your question, like nowadays I'm doing more stuff that I think a 10-year-old kid can see and it's fine, an 8-year-old kid even, but a 30-year-old can see it and a 75-year-old can see it, and they're all going to kind of have that reaction, like they're going to enjoy it, much like your toys and behind you. So it's kind of that idea where I can make it in the style where it does remind people of like the past. I'm doing that on purpose and reminds them of their childhood. I had said that many years ago, actually. Well, not many years ago, a couple of years ago when I started. Stuff that I would have liked as a kid, or you would have liked, or anyone listening would have liked. So that's the intent now.
Nice.
So, and then like I can show you, so like that's the clay sculpture. What I'll do then is I'll take plaster and I'll make a mold, and then I'll pour it in latex and back it with foam. And this is obviously a different sculpt, but this is a pole where it's just the latex and it's backed with foam. And then when you paint something and you do what's called detail work, which would be adding teeth or gloss or hair, like Pumpkinhead here, and that's a finished product. So those are kind of like just real briefly showing you the steps, if you will.
Yeah.
But he's a full 360 degree. He's big, and the teeth are resin, and so
nice.
Yeah,
nice, man. Yeah, looks good. I like that. I like that pirate idea. I think that's really good. I think it's more the classic, the more classic monster. Which, I don't know. It changes every year. It seems like it's like 1 year it's zombie, 1 year it's scarecrow. It's like it's always a revolving door on what the new thing is for that year. Then the next year there's something new, and it's like you gotta adjust to that.
Well, yeah, it's like anything else. It's trendy, and like some of the styles that Ray and I did years ago. We had silicone face masks that were like, they were looking like, this is gross, but they were supposed to look like skin face masks. So we did like what's called a life cast, where you use this stuff called alginate and you actually cast a person's face, a real person. So we did some of those, and we made these silicone masks, and we did it in 2013, 2014. Well, now they're everywhere.
Now it's a big deal. You were ahead of your time.
Ray, it's funny, Ray still jokes about that nowadays. When I talk to him, is we were ahead of our time, and that can happen. You have an idea and people don't really grasp onto it. It's fun. That's why the stuff from the 80s and 70s is popular so much now, because you show, we kind of grew up in that era, but you show someone from Gen Z and they're like, oh my gosh, like it's so different, it's so cool, and they gravitate towards it.
Right.
For good reason.
Well, they're not used to seeing stuff like that, man. So figuring out, he says that Pumpkinhead looks amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That's one where I didn't really make any tweaks. I tried to sculpt it as close to the character as I could. The paint scheme I did a little, just because it's hard to find a good clear picture of Pumpkinhead.
Everything's like in the rain and the dark and the lightning, and there's not many
the strobe light effects, but
there's not a lot of pictures of him just like in the daylight having a picnic or anything like that.
With some flowers in a basket,
And he loves both of our backgrounds. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate those compliments. That's nice. Appreciate that.
Absolutely, man. All right, man. Well, we're out of time, but thanks again for being on, man. I really appreciate you taking out the time to.
Oh, that's all you got, huh?
That's all I got, dude. I haven't done this in 2 months. I'm wiped.
That is fair enough. That's fair enough.
But thank you for being on, man. Appreciate it. You're always welcome back anytime, as you know. And always a pleasure, man. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, likewise. I appreciate that. So thanks, and I'll I'll take the time too to thank everyone for participating, everyone in the chat and the comments, compliments, insight, sarcasm.
Yeah.
It's all awesome. So
Chat's
thanks
always
for
good, man.
supporting UConn.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, guys. I mean, it's kind of taking a chance, switching nights, switching times, but we still had a good crowd. So appreciate all you guys checking it out. We may or may not do it next week. Like I said, I still don't know if this is going to be a weekly thing or if it's going to be a bi-weekly thing or what. I don't know yet. But as soon as I figure that out, I will let you guys know through Instagram, maybe through a short on YouTube on it'll be this time, and you just don't know who the. Maybe you know what? Maybe we'll just leave the guest as a mystery for now on. I think that's a good idea. I think we'll do that.
The
So
mystery guest.
if you want to know who I'm going to talk to next week or the week after, whenever the hell I do this again, then you'll have to tune into the show. So there you
Unless
go.
they are the guest, then.
Or maybe there will be no guest. That's got train wreck written all over it, doesn't it?
I mean, if you had split personalities, it would work.
Oh God, don't say that. Don't say that. You know, we don't want that. We don't want that. Maybe I'll just find some random person. You know, like the bum down on council. There's a guest.
Hey man. Yeah.
The stories you'd get would be incredible. So
What? Well, you know what I would love to see. I would love for you to have Julie on because I want to get her perspective on all this toy stuff.
That's not.
I want to see like.
It's not gonna happen. Kenny will be on. There you go. Kenny volunteers. That's what we had. We had to get Benny volunteers. We'll have Kenny on. Kenny's always on the show. He's here anyway. You might as well be on. Figure anxiety. I'm gonna be getting hold of you too. You'll be on. So there you go.
Yeah.
All right. That's enough. I'm spent. Thanks for showing up, guys. Dan, thanks again. I'll see you guys soon. You guys have a good one. Bye.